I like how that winds down, and I'm like, I want to hear the rest of the song. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Big 12 Mafia Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown, and with me are the representatives that I have deemed to be partners on this show for the Big 12, and that would be Wild Ute and Daniel Gygax. How are we doing today, guys?
What's up?
Good.
Good. You're waving. What are we waving for, Daniel?
No, I'm just waving to say hi to everybody that's in the
Okay.
chat.
All right. I just want to make sure we didn't miss something. Maybe there's
No,
an inside
no,
joke there.
you didn't miss anything.
I appreciate everybody being here with us tonight. We are going to have a fun time. We're going to talk viewership numbers. We're going to do a quick review of the Big 12 and sort of grades on each of the schools and how they did this last weekend. It was pretty wild in Provo, and certainly it was very, very wild in Iowa City. So we'll have to have that review this afternoon. I guess it's evening now, and I hope you all look forward to that. Make sure you follow all of us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to this channel on YouTube. We are on X, so if you're watching us on X right now, just take a second, pop over to YouTube and hit that subscribe number. We're trying to get to 5,000. We're not far off now. I'm not sure what the number is today, but we can always use those numbers. So if you're watching on X and you want to be a part of the show, especially, feel free to leave a comment, but certainly on YouTube, it's a little bit better for us, just so you know. Let's see here. Where do you guys want to start for this week?
Let's do some shout outs and stuff, and then let's get to some of the content here. Let's talk. We've got a lot to talk about tonight.
All right,
we're going to break out and analyze it. We're going to break out and analyze viewership, like Bomber mentioned. We're going to give some grades to Big 12 teams, but really, like, the namesake is the Big 12's big problem, the viewership. And we're going to get deep into that and what that looks like, what that means now, what that means for the future, and stacked against other conferences is something we all need to be aware of. And we need to watch more Big 12 football.
Yeah, we do. We have to get more people watching that aren't in the general area of these schools too. We need to start bringing in people from the Northeast. And in the off season, Brett Yormark might address that. He might bring in some new schools that cover different areas. But right now, the geography is not great for the Big 12. We knew that going in, but there's a lot to do. So first, let's start out with shout-outs. Like you said, I think that's a great place to start. We're going to say, hey, Bomber. That's from Earl Carr, who's been a member, I think, since, I don't know, since the Noah's Ark or something. We appreciate you being here. He also follows up by saying, hey, Wild Ute, Bomber, and Moen. Moen's not on this show anymore unless we invite him. Right now we have Daniel Gygax in that role, West Virginia representative, and somebody that can help cover the eastern part of the conference. That really matters to us. Next we have Clay Johansson. Go Blue, not Big Blue, be very clear. Go Blue, that's a Michigan shout out. Good to have you here, Clay.
Glad Moen's not here.
Yeah, yeah. We don't have to worry about him for that particular thing. Here's a good question for you. What do you think about the Big 12 viewership numbers, Ute?
Oh, Clay, you have no idea. We're going to get into it. Don't want to give everything right now without showing you some information. We're going to do some analysis. We've got all the viewership information really for the last 8 years, and now based on Saturday's games even. So we can talk about everything until you're blue in the face. And we're going to do it. And we're going to be real about this and everything about where the Big 12 shakes out, who's the brands in the Big 12, what's emerging as the brands, and really what we can do to improve in the future. And of course, compare it to some other conferences, because it's kind of surprising.
All right, we'll dance on that in just a bit. Illini Ted, another member since Noah's Ark. Hello, Big 12 peeps. Good to have you here, Illini Ted. We really appreciate you Big 10 people watching our show. That loyalty goes a long way, and Ute and I certainly, and now Daniel, we really, really appreciate you guys. So if there's anything we can be doing for you for coverage of the Big 10 that we're not doing right now on the Big 10 Mafia show, let us know, and we'll try to improve that, certainly. Let's see here. We'll Bob down here farther on the list. Bob Swanger checks in, another member. All these people are members. That's really cool. Hey, everyone, he says. Caleb Ramirez says, let's go. I agree with that. Let it go. Jared Jones, there's the man. I haven't seen you since I went into surgery. It's so good to see you, Jared. Props to Ohio State. I think they had a bye week, so you guys win without playing. I think that's pretty good. A longtime member, we appreciate your loyalty, Jared. Thank you. Chief fan has been engaging with me on Twitter. I appreciate all of his tips of the hat. Says one way to fix that is to fire Neil Brown. So West Virginia, the rumors are out there.
Yeah.
Who is it that's supposed to be replacing Neil Brown next week?
Oh God, who would know? I've heard everybody from. Somebody said, "Oh, we're going to get Urban Meyer. We're going to get Fisher. We're going to get this. We're going to get that. We're going
Holy cow!
Do you want to know something? Until there is an opening and until he is fired, let's put it this way: if he loses to Arizona, he's 3-5. There's a bye week, coming up after that. That's going to be a really long bye week. You're going to probably see coaches get fired,
like they did at Utah. They let their
now as for Andrew Eagle said Glenville's old coach. No, we're not going to bring back Dana either. This is
no Dana Holgerson here.
Here's the thing. Andrew's a great friend of mine, and we text all the time. We have this group text, and we all the time bring up all these like really weird stuff that we found online.
The question is, Daniel, I'm just going to get you to the root of the thing here. Is West Virginia going to make a coaching change?
If they lose to Arizona, like I said, a bye week, I'm going to probably put it way higher than 50-50.
Okay.
All right. Neil Brown is gone.
The buyout is $9 million. So it's not as bad as people were saying.
10.2 and change. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
That's not enough to stop somebody from firing.
No. And the way that he re-signed in the all season, he lowered his buyout significantly, but he got more money on the top end.
And we thought that actually was reversed. We thought that it was going to be somewhere in the 15 to 20 million.
No. Last year, if they got rid of him, it would have been 16 million. So they changed it up. If he loses, I say way higher than 50% that he's gone. Because, like I said, bye week going in Cincinnati.
Right. Okay. All right. Very good. Kenner, let me make sure I get this right. Kenner Bowman, good to have you here, Kenner. Can't blame Colorado. Certainly can't. No.
Oh Colorado. My gosh, we'll find out.
Yeah. That's not even a question. Andrew Eagle again says Neil Brown will be gone at the end of the year, so there's some timing. Joaquin Morales. Good to have you here, Arizona State representative. That loss to Cincinnati, I kind of saw coming. But hopefully the rest of the year, I would love BYU and Arizona State be playing. You guys only have 2 losses. That would be fantastic. Says, hey, Bomber, Wild Ute, Daniel, there we go, at College Football Mafia family. Bomber, hope your recovery is going well. Sure, I'm doing the best I can. I can talk. That's all I can say. Just here taking care of Mama. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate all the service you provide, Joaquin. We'll listen as I can or replay. Smash that like button. Everybody hit that like button. We appreciate everything that we get from that. Daniel Gygax again checking in. Saying hi, Andrew.
Yeah.
Rock and Rant, one of our contributors. Great show on Thursday nights with Miami Flow. Says power rankings and TV rankings, the yin and the yang of college football. You want to add
That's so true nowadays. I mean, seriously, it's not just about wins and losses. It's about your freaking ratings too.
Right.
Like, we've learned that about the business of college football and realignment. Like I've been thinking about this a lot, Rock and Rant. And I think that 3/4 importance goes to your actually win and loss, and a 1/4 goes to your viewership. Seriously, that's really how important it is. And of course, if you win more, you're going to be on TV more and stuff. There's a correlation there. But if you're looking at as a truth and everything, if you get a big TV rating and get a big win to show off your brand, that's like a double power, super strong and everything. So we need good TV ratings, y'all. And the SEC and the Big Ten, they've got plenty of good TV ratings. It's an absolute joke. And the Big 12,
That's gotta be what realignment is about in this offseason. Using the CVC money, the private equity, trying to bring in schools pay whatever you need to get schools in from the ACC to boost those numbers. Because I completely agree with you. Now the reasoning might be different than we thought of, last offseason, But I think we're learning now how important those things are. Darth Ducky. I love that name. That's a great name. Illini Ted and I keep meeting. It's good to have you here, Darth Ducky. I told my kids if any of them have a kid and they name their child Vader, I would give them like $3,000 or something. That's a fact. I actually, and one of them actually said, "Really, that much?" AMAC says, "Howdy, y'all. Good to have you here." The architect checking in. It's been a minute, architect, since I've seen you. Appreciate you being here. Hello, fellas. Good to see you on a Tuesday. Glenn Lumen checking in from the Philippines. We are international. Good to see you, Glenn. Another valuable member of the Mafia family. Let's see here. Scrolling down. Oh, here we go. Laura Weiss, Texas Tech. Hey, y'all, from a broken Tech family.
Oh, my gosh. Tough loss.
Really, really tough loss.
Tough.
Who would have thought Baylor showed some life in it?
I actually did. I thought Baylor would give him a run. So
the betting lines for that game are really weird. Remember last week how they creeped up for Baylor? It's amazing sometimes how those things are up.
BYU right now is down 1 to UCF at home. That tells you what the Vegas line is thinking. Again, that game was closer than anybody guessed. I got that one right. Nobody else did. Justin Coos Walker checking in says it's Gygax. Good to have you here, Coos. Thank you so much. Your show just keep on going, brother. You've got our support 100%. Let's see here. He says, glad to see you back, Bomber. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm a gutted fish, but I'm here. Let's see here. Thank you, Ute. I appreciate that. MWA. Tiny stadiums, tiny TV revenues. What's the problem?
Hey, MWA. Hey, that's what we're here to try to solve here. We're just bringing up the problem. We're acknowledging the problem. We're not putting our heads in the sand. And the problem is really the viewership is less than expected, at least for the expectations that some folks had. Not for every school, not for Colorado, but for a lot of schools. And tiny stadiums. I wouldn't necessarily say that. There's a lot of Big 12 stadiums that have over 50,000 seats. Some have over 55, and BYU even has over 60,000 seats. So these are good brands. Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing, Daniel, is that brands is what's driving this stuff, and that's what Ute's going to go over with this, because those that don't have brands are suffering right now.
Yes.
I think is what we're seeing.
Yes, we're in the day of the brand. Exactly.
Stephen Vitt says, "Hey guys, just stopping by. Good to have you here, Ohio. Appreciate Ohio being represented. We love having people from that Northeast corridor." Watching the show. Doc Gibbs checking in with the ACC. Does terrible season FSU has had to date lessen their desirability to Big 12 regarding realignment? I don't think so. Do you guys think
No way. No way. Like 1 year of performance isn't going to sway much. Yeah. But if it's like 10 years of performance, if FSU went to a nosedive where they're winning like a couple games a year for 10 years, it could. But they've got a brand. They've had history and stuff. So 1 year is not going to shake any of their brand value. But again, like over an extended period of time, like look at Pitt. That's a good example. Pitt back, 30, 40 years ago was a big brand. They were winning titles. And now it's Pitt, and so Florida State's bigger than that. And Florida
Rewind
State.
that back 10 more years. They haven't won anything since the 70s.
There we go.
There's a lot of schools that can say the same thing, Daniel. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia's heyday was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, we'll dive into it. We'll have to see. Last one that's new, I'm going to say, is Becky Go Huskies, a member and another contributor to, and I would say a big time partner for the Big 12. For the College Football Mafia Network on the Big 10 Mafia Show. Thank you, Becky. Says, hello, everyone. Appreciate you. Haven't seen you for a minute, so I appreciate everything you're doing. Both you and Pickles, thank you so much for all your hard work. Let's see here. Last one I'm going to bring up, and then we're going to jump into Ute's presentation, or at least some of the data. Kuz says, I think it'll be someone like Jason Candle, Jamie Chadwell, or et cetera. I think we're talking about the head coach there.
Yeah, there was Earl brought up Coach Hill out of, is he at Utah or BYU?
BYU.
Yeah.
Jay Hill.
Okay. Yeah. Jay Hill. I know he spent a long time at Utah. And
he did spend some time there. That's right.
Yeah. And the thing is, would he be able to recruit the Midwest and East Coast? And that was something that we all brought up. I brought up in chat, because recruiting in Utah, state of Utah, is one thing. Recruiting in West Virginia is something else, because it's a whole different group of high schools that you're talking to.
Yeah,
That's right.
Maybe. I think if you can recruit, you can recruit. Urban Meyer proved he can recruit anywhere.
Yeah, but recruiting at Florida and Ohio State's a little bit easier than
I don't know.
WVU.
Maybe.
Urban Meyer, when he was at Utah, he recruited Texas and California.
That's right.
Those existing
and,
pipeline states.
And Florida. That's right.
When you're a big brand, you can go anywhere. If you're Ohio State, if you're Florida, if you're USC, you're going anywhere. For a lot of Big 12 schools, that's not, unless you're Colorado, and who knows how Dion's recruiting, right? Like, he doesn't even go on site. He's basically text kids, I think. Yeah. But they've got a national, recruiting base at the moment.
Absolutely. A few more comments here have come in. Mark Harris, thanks for being here, Mark. New to the channel, appreciate seeing you. Thank you for being realistic about the Big 12 instead of just complaining about everyone being against us. If you're new to the channel, Mark, we've always been this way. We're very much look in the mirror. And yeah, we stay positive about the Big 12, right? We're always pro Big 12. But you can't put your head in the sand, like you said. Have to pay attention to what's going on around you. And right now, the Big 12, while they're performing, they got good teams performing right now at the top. We're not, the viewership numbers just are not great. We'll talk about that in detail. But thank you very much for being here, Mark. Really, really appreciate you. Is there anybody else new that I've missed? Last one from Doc Gibbs, and then I'll turn it over to you. Great to see and hear you, Bomber. After your surgery, you inspire all those who have recent hospitalizations. Thanks, Doc. It wasn't fun. I've had surgeries before. This was something else. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And everybody's support. I'm going to continue to say that. Very, very awesome. All right, Ute, I'm going to turn this over to you now. Let's talk about this stuff.
Let's talk about it. So all the viewership information comes from Sports Watch Media or Programming Insider. So I'm not pulling this out of my butt or anything, right? Those are the sources. So anyone can go there, right? We're going to look, and I've compiled them. That's what you see in this doc and everything, just for like some analysis for this discussion. We're also going to look, there's going to be a lot of numbers, guys. So, but we'll talk about it. We'll try to make it more understandable, and we're going to look back how the Big 12 was performing over the last 3 years. And then also just see exactly kind of where we're stacking up. And then we're going to look at some ACC data. There's some good Twitter accounts out there that do the same type of thing for the ACC. We're going to take a look-see to see how the ACC is stacking up versus the Big 12. Then lastly, we're going to pull some more recent viewership information on the SEC and the Big 10 based on the Sports Watch Media space, just to get an idea of the numbers, the different numbers, okay? That's where we're going here. So, all right, as you can see here on this, in this doc here that we're looking at, this is the stack ranking of all the Big 12 schools. Can you see that good, guys? Is that clear to you at all?
I can see it.
Okay.
You might need to
I could zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, because people are probably watching on their phones.
Sure. Is that better?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. So this is a 1 through 16 stack ranking for this year. This is brand new information. It was updated right before the show. It has week 8 information. Every Big 12 teams had one bye week. That's not included. That's not included at all. That's completely omitted. But this basically breaks it out, and it tells you exactly how the Big 12 teams have been performing viewership-wise. So from 1 to 16, Colorado is number 1, K-State 2, Oklahoma State 3, and so on down this list. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about these different columns. So the average number here is just strictly based on what the average viewership per game is on a Nielsen rated game. So there's a lot of games out there that are on really like on channels like ESPN Plus or Peacock or ACC Network or the old Pac-12 network when the Pac-12 network was in existence in prior years that get such small ratings that they don't even record them on a Nielsen rating. So nobody knows what the ratings for those games are because they're so small. They're not recorded at all. So like the Pac-12 network in the past didn't give that information to Nielsen, who's a rating agency, because frankly, it's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I was going to say they'd be embarrassed, I think. Yeah.
They'd be embarrassed. So so Nelson only tracks games that are on ESPN, Fox, CBS, ABC, the big channels, even FS1, even ESPN2. But most games for a Power 4 conference are going to be on one of those channels. So when we're looking at the average per game, what this is saying is Colorado over the course of this season through week 8 is averaging about 3.8 million viewers per game.
Which is just crazy. Absolutely
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And then
The
you can see here, it's the prime effect. The next column over is the non-Nielsen rated games. It's simply how many non-Nielsen rated games have you had this year? Colorado hasn't played on a channel that was non-Nielsen rated, meaning they only played on the best channels. And that makes sense because the prime effect.
Right.
Like they are the most advantageous brand. So you're going to put them on the big time TV every week. And so they have not had a game on ESPN Plus. They have not had a game on CBS Sports Network or any of the small channels. So they're going to get a little bit of boost from that too. But if you're looking at really how much they're producing, it's 3.8 million viewers per game through 7 games, which is very, very, very good, guys. And if we go down here, K-State actually is shaking out number 2. And this is a big number for K-State. They're putting about 1.6 million viewers per game on the docket for Nielsen rated games. And that's quite a bit above their 3 and 8 year averages. So K-State, because of Avery Johnson, because of that high flying offense, they played Colorado one game, which gave them a boost too. But
I was going to say, the Colorado effect to every team that's on this list really is massive.
100%. And the exception really is Oklahoma State because they haven't played Colorado. And what this tells me, actually, Oklahoma State is producing about 1.3, almost 1.4 million viewers per game on just the Nielsen rated games. That's how I usually typically look at it. If you want to omit the Nielsen rated data, you could do that. And they are averaging about 1.6 million viewers per game. And that's pretty good, actually. Oklahoma State's basically holding what they had before. In the prior iteration of the Big 12, Oklahoma State had maybe a slightly more viewership, but basically they're the same. Like their brand is, even though they're losing games right now, their brand is strong and steady. Oklahoma State. Arizona's supposed to be good, so that's why they got a lot of viewership this year. That's a big time up from previous years. And we'll just go down the list here. So we've got Utah, Baylor right there. We've got Iowa State and BYU. Those two, you'll see at the end of the season, especially BYU. The trend here for BYU is getting on better channels, getting more viewership. And I expect that number from number 10 to creep up probably the top 7 by year end for BYU, just based on them winning and everything else. Iowa State's a little bit interesting bird, guys. Iowa State, for whatever reason, they've only had one non-Nielsen rated game, so they've been on channels and stuff, but they're just not a big ratings driver. Just be straight up honest with you guys.
They were on the Fox primetime game with WVU last weekend.
Right. And with them undefeated, now with them, borderline top 10, you'd expect a little bit more, but Iowa State just hasn't really performed viewership-wise that great. That's just the straight honest fact of it. And then some of these other schools, like Cincinnati, it's been rough. Houston in Texas Tech's a little bit confusing, but they haven't performed that well either this year. KU's been bad, Arizona State. And
Texas Tech, let me just interject there. That is crazy because they were 5-1, right?
I know.
They were 5-1. Not to say that everybody didn't think maybe they were a little, overrated or hadn't had the toughest schedule. That number is crazy. They've only had one game that wasn't Nielsen rated, which obviously that brings the number down.
Sure.
BYU and Utah both have been non-Nielsen rated twice this season.
Right.
That's got to change next year. They got to do something better to get those brands more exposure. Going on non-Nielsen with those brands is just stupid.
Yeah, Utah's playing on ESPN Plus versus Houston this weekend, so they ain't going to get any. It's a big fat zero goose egg for Utah this weekend, so their numbers going down. So Texas Tech, though, what? I don't get that at all. They're averaging less than 500,000 views per game, but they've been stuck on pretty crappy channels. This does have a strong correlation with what channel and what time you get stuck on, right? So Texas Tech's been playing on FS1 and ESPN2 a lot. And those are channels that aren't going to perform as well as ESPN, ABC, obviously CBS, Big Fox. So Texas Tech, for whatever reason, just hasn't had the luck of the draw as far as getting the choice game. And you know what? If you're a television executive, you know this data. They know it's like the back of their hand. They know who's going to draw and who's not.
Right.
So they make those decisions based on who they know is going to draw, and that explains why Colorado's not playing on ESPN Plus, guys.
Right.
So it's hard to explain what's going on with Texas Tech, but it's a bit surprising. But here's one of the things. Okay, so we're going to move back over here. So total views, this is all the views per the whole season. If you combine them all, total them up, Colorado's had almost 27 million views.
Which is crazy. Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
The next biggest, K-State, at 11 million views. And if you take the share of what that actually means, so if you add up all those views for the entire Big 12 as a total, and then you look per team divided by that total Big 12, it gives you the share, like what type of like share are you producing for the conference?
Yes.
How many eyeballs are you producing for the conference? That's what it means by share. Colorado in a 16-team conference is equating to almost 23% of all viewership for the Big 12, guys. This is a serious concern. You know why? Because if Coach Prime leaves,
which we
Colorado
think he will, yeah.
You guys, like Colorado historically, before Coach Prime got there, they were one of the worst draws in the Pac-12.
Yep.
They were getting so low viewership.
They were like at Houston numbers.
They went 4-8 last year, and everybody watched a 4-8 football team.
That's crazy.
Let's just take a look. See, I'm going to go back in the Big 12. This is like historically. So 2011 through 2022, 2023. Also had 8 years prior to like that. So we've got a ton of data here. But I want to see what Colorado was doing for like the last 3 years and the last 8 years viewership. Because a lot of it was without Prime. Let's see if we can find it. Where is it?
Right there, number 6. 5.
There we go, 5. And look at this, guys. So back in 2021 and 2022, Colorado was about 370,000 views per game, 350,000 views per game. Last year, 4.5 million views per game.
Yes.
That's the Prime effect. Like, look at that. 350,000 to 4.5 million. That's historically. And then you're looking at this year, it's down a little bit from last year because it was a 4.5 last year. We're at 3.8 million. But still, like, that just tells you if Prime leaves, Colorado is falling.
Tanking.
Falling, tanking, free falling.
Yeah.
Turn the Big 12's doing the same. That's the most concerning thing of all is like, okay, once Prime leaves, K-State would be like your top dog, maybe, or maybe somebody else that takes that. But like there's nobody, no big brand that's driving things.
I think boy, and this is the look in the mirror, like we talked about early in the show. During realignment, this channel, realignment and bringing in schools from the ACC, this is what it's about. It's about viewership and getting more eyeballs on all the games. Because right now we're missing that southeast, east dedicated schools. And in my opinion, if those schools were to come in, they would bring in the numbers up for everybody. And it would make the conference a lot more desirable. Right now, if you're Fox and you're sitting there saying, I put $2 into the Big Ten network, but I get 8 out, versus I put, ESPN says I put $1 into the Big 12 and I only get 50 cents out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge difference in that
100%.
valuation, and that's why it matters. Not about whether we like the schools or personalities or any of that nonsense. It's about viewership.
It's about viewership, and it's about the next TV contract.
Yeah.
You just nailed it, Nate. Like, really, this information is going to dictate the values in the next media contract for the Big 12.
Absolutely.
So viewership needs to be as good as it can possibly be, because you basically, for a TV contract, you're paying for eyeballs. And like there's some more attributes into that stuff, maybe local markets and everything. But the biggest thing is the eyeballs that you're getting. And so it's a big concern. We can take a look, see. Why don't we just go over? Okay, let's take a look at the historical ACC information. So keep these numbers in mind here, okay? So keep this 3.8 for Colorado. K-State's about 1.9 million viewers per game. And like you can kind of look at these numbers, right?
You want me to share that page? I can share it if you want me to.
Sure.
That'd make it a little bit easier for you.
So if I'm doing the math correctly in my head, and I'm doing average adjusted,
yep,
the Big 12 average per game is around 1.2.
Let me get that for you.
About.
You want me to turn this off?
No, just keep it on. Okay. So Daniel, yeah, about 1.2, 1.3, 1.28.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the Big 12 average, including Colorado's, way above average figures. Yeah. So, but that's a good way to think about it. 1.2 average. Let's go look at the historical ACC numbers. Get rid of that. Okay. Here we go. Notre Dame, I threw in there and stuff. Just forget Notre Dame. They're not technically football in ACC, but Clemson getting about 2.4 historically. Florida State about 2.3. Miami 1.3, and that's a lot of Miami down years. Stanford about 1.2. You're looking at Louisville. Louisville is a huge hot target for Big 12. Historically, they're getting about 1.1 in the ACC.
Can you blow that up for people that are on their phones watching?
I can't make it any bigger.
I'll blow it up.
Okay.
You can do that? Okay.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so here we go. So these are all the historical years. What you want to look at is like their average right here. Okay, so Louisville from 2015, this is saying through 2023, they're averaging about 1.1 million viewers per game.
So
is this the number? There you go. Sorry.
So 1.1 would be about 100,000 each less than what the average is for the Big 12.
Currently with the Prime effect.
Yes.
If we didn't have Prime, it would be above the average, right? Like Prime is lifting that number, average number for Big 12 a lot.
Viewer and also Windows, broadcast Windows has a huge effect on this, right? Sure. A lot of our schools are farther west, so the broadcast windows are a little bit more limited as well.
WVU has had Iowa State, K-State, primetime Fox TV, Big Noon, and that's their average is 1.3 million.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and a lot of that was it was like 3.9 and change million what they got off of Penn State. That was first game of the year.
Right. But that's Penn State effect. That's not.
Yeah, that was the Penn State effect.
Penn State.
Right. Yes. Plus the first game of the season, really, in the U.S. So, and there's a lot of ways to break this data down. You want to go back to the ACC really quick?
Let's do it. Yeah, and I guess like the response is like, okay, so say that we added ACC schools. The Big 12 does that. We get Louisville, we get Virginia Tech, maybe Pitt and NC State. Like they're basically the same viewership level as the current Big 12 teams. There's nobody in there that's going to have like a huge amplifier effect historically for Big 12.
Jeff Fuller, and I'm going to bring this comment up because I'm not sure.
Tell Jeff to jump on with us if he wants. Like I would love to discuss Jeff too.
Okay.
If Jeff wants to get on.
Yeah,
Jeff, okay, so let's do this. First, let me send an invite to him. Jeff, I'm going to send you an invite on Twitter if you want to join us. Obviously, this is something you do for a living, basically. So just give me a second, and I'll send you the invitation.
But also,
let me read this comment from him first. All right, Jeff, I just sent you the StreamYard link. This is his comment, and I think this is really important. I don't know if there's a way to do it. Need to see the Big 12 viewership numbers with all the Colorado games removed. And I would say if you're going to do that, maybe put them back to what the Pac-12 numbers were and maybe adjust them a little bit for him. To see who's having their viewership boosted by Prime and the Buffs, Big 12 seeing a viewership dip without OU and Texas for sure.
So without Prime, the Big 12 is averaging about 1.1 million viewers.
Okay.
And this is like on the Nielsen rated games, guys. This isn't including ESPN Plus. So
right.
That's like best case scenario, right? Like so it's like the golden view. That's not. I don't even like seeing it that way because I think it's too liberal, aggressive. I think that the more conservative is if you factor in non-Nielsen rated games because you're on that ESPN Plus because you got a crappy game. You can't omit that, right? That's why I think that you should consider that. But this is just Nielsen rated games. Big 12 averaging without Colorado 1.1 million.
Look at UCF's been on 3 non-Nielsen rated games. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and one of the problems for UCF is they got stuck on SEC network versus Florida because they lost to Colorado and
That's
stuff.
Right.
And Florida was bad, so they got screwed on that game, and so it added another non-Nielsen rated game because SEC network's non-Nielsen rated.
Now this weekend they're playing BYU, and they're going to be
on TV.
Yeah, that's on main ESPN if I remember right. So we'll have to see what that number turns out to be. But I agree with you. I think this has got to change. Brett Yormark has to do something. Now, this is maybe an advocacy for, again, we'll talk about it, a Big 12 channel, right? If you have your own channel, now you can build that's another broadcast window. And now you can put your best brands on whatever you want to for broadcast windows, and you'll have potentially better viewership than you're currently getting on ESPN Plus.
Does anybody know the numbers? Yeah. Does anybody know the numbers of the ACC network? Like what they're actually making? Because I know the SEC network and the Big Ten, they're making bank, but they also have some pretty big brands. What's the ACC network making?
They're making money, but again, these channels that are dedicated to these conferences, the viewership's going to necessarily be down because not everybody finds them. Yeah. If they're not on ESPN, if they're not on CBS, if they're not on NBC, right? So
yeah, I mean, guys, you got to get on those big channels. Here's the root problem: is there's so much investment in the SEC and the Big Ten now that they're getting all the best time slots every week and all the promotion, and it makes sense why they're getting that because ESPN and Fox pays so much money for their content. So they're going to boost that. They're going to promote that. They're going to hammer it all week long and stuff and make it Big 10, Big 10, Big 10, or SEC. And Big 12 gets little to no promotion and the worst time spots and the late night time spots and everything. So basically we're getting what we can. But that's not changing either, guys. We need to be honest about that. SEC and Big 10 will keep getting the best time spots based on that investment in those conferences. And I can pull up the data here just to show you what some of the recent ratings for those games are if you want to see it.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I do. What I was going to bring up, how many people watched Alabama play at Rocky Top? How many people watched Georgia, Texas? Those two. Yeah.
Let's take a look-see at that, right?
Yeah. One was 11 million. One was 12 million, something like that. I mean, those were massive numbers.
Yeah,
you're right, Daniel. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing: is what's the biggest mind blow for me, at least, if you're adding up all the viewers of the entire season. Again, Colorado's performed well, almost 27 million. But outside of Colorado, K-State's the top dog at 11. Guys, that Alabama game drew 10 to 12 million on its own. One freaking game beats the second best Big 12 team. That's concerning. That's concerning. And let's pull it up. Let me share a different screen here.
I think this is a really important conversation. The way you solve a problem is by acknowledging what it is. You say it out loud, you give it power, and you say, look, this is a challenge that we have to get past. And if everybody's working towards the same goal, we can certainly do things to try to fix stuff. But essentially, this is us. This is viewers. This is people not associated with the schools that are either watching or not watching these games. Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to.
So Sports Media Watch hasn't updated for week 8 yet for all games. I was lucky enough to get those figures for week 8 though from Programming Insider. So shout out to those guys and everything. And that's usually where Sports Media Watch is getting the information too.
Okay.
But let's just look in week 7. Ohio State, Oregon, 9.6 million viewers. Let's just remember K-State, second best Big 12 team with 11 million viewers on the season. Ohio State, Oregon did 9.6 by itself. Texas, Oklahoma, 7.63. South Carolina, Alabama did a 6. You just go down this list.
Game was at T-Town.
Let's go to week 6 and look at the big games. I'm gonna scroll down. Okay.
Nope. Scroll back up. There was WVU.
Yeah, and you passed by BYU too. They're in the million.
In all the Big 12 numbers are already in the totals that I showed y'all.
Yeah.
For each game, but the point is look at the biggest games of the week.
Yeah,
Tennessee, Arkansas, did over 5 million. Auburn, Georgia, Iowa, Ohio State, like all of them are either the Big Ten or the SEC. Like
That's
all
right.
the top 5 games, unless Colorado jumps in there.
That's
and like
right.
that's been the whole trend all season long because of the promotion, because of the brands, because of the TV windows and everything else. That's not changing either. I don't care. What happens? Like there could be some juggernaut that's built in the Big 12, but this is going to be this is life right now. Like, and what do you do about this if you're a Big 12 fan? Because like it sucks and everything when we're talking about scheduling alliances between SEC and Big 10 and everything, because you're looking at what's happening already. And with more scheduling alliances, they're basically butting you out and making you less relevant in the future. And you're becoming irrelevant right now. And so like, what do you do? What is the solution? This is a conversation now from the problem, which is a massive problem, to the solution.
And I think we've said the solution many, many times: get to the playoff and win some games.
Yeah,
I think that's how you earn new viewership. If you're not going to bring in new schools that have viewership locked in with them, the easiest way to get recognition and respect is go out and win football games, win your non-conference games, and then get to the playoff and win a game or two. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I saw some playoff things today that said the ACC could get even 3 teams in because the best teams don't play each other. The Big 12 could do the same thing. The Big 12 could have 3 one-loss teams at the end of the season. So it's one of these situations where these bigger conferences that don't have a round-robin gameplay, you don't play everybody. You have to go through and get to the playoff and win some games. It's absolutely possible.
And you got to win your non-conference games. And the problem is West Virginia lost to Penn State.
Yes.
Yeah, UCF lost to Florida.
Yeah.
And so the only one that we won, only the top 5 Big 12 game we won was Iowa State beating Iowa by like a field goal, right? Like the end of the game. So like that's just not happening yet. And how do you change it? Like with the funding differences and everything else. Yeah, and like winning playoff games would be ideal and everything, but we're probably looking at getting 1 team in the playoff, guys, in the Big 12. Like, we need to be real about that. There's going to be biases. There's going to be pressures based on what you're seeing with TV viewership and how you can make money and monetizing that as a playoff committee and everything. The Big 12 is going to only have minimal spots, especially if the ACC, if Miami goes undefeated, they may squeak 2 teams in. I just don't see the Big 12 getting 2 teams in the playoff at all. And so you're probably looking at the 4 seed in the playoff. If you're the Big 12. And then you're looking, if you're the 4 seed in the playoff, then you're looking at playing the 5 seed likely coming up on a neutral site game. And the 5 seed is going to be the second best team from the SEC. So can you beat Georgia? Can Iowa State, BYU, can you beat Georgia?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. We've got to win that type of game.
I think it doesn't help that those games will probably be away and home.
No.
Iowa State going to Georgia for a playoff game, that's rough.
It's rough, but
anything's possible in college football. I'm just telling you, it's very difficult to imagine a Big 12 team traveling to Georgia and winning that game.
Well,
just being realistic.
Let's look at it this way. WVU had Kansas State on Big Fox. On ABC was the Georgia-Texas game. Guess which one had 11 million viewers, and guess which one had a little over 1.5. Both of them on network TV, both of them in every market in America.
But Daniel, we're talking about winning games. I'm not talking about viewership.
I know. But
so tell me which Big 12 team travels to Georgia and wins.
BYU.
Maybe their defense is very, very good, but you have to have offense too.
BYU is probably the most depth-wise team in the conference.
That's it. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah. Iowa State's a very close second. Iowa State is.
They both could be undefeated.
Really? Yes.
Right, and one of them loses.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So now you have 2 teams. One's undefeated, and the other one has 1 loss. If we're being really silly,
yes.
Because BYU still has to get by UCF. They have to get through Utah, and then you have other games that they could potentially lose. So, and Iowa State has the same thing. They have to get by KSU.
Yes.
And these teams are getting all kinds of attention, in the top 20 and everything now. But at the end of the day, these viewership numbers are not going to move if we don't go out and start winning some playoff games. And I'm trying to imagine which SEC or Big Ten school a Big 12 team can travel to and win. Indiana? Indiana's possible, right? You could beat
Indiana's
Indiana maybe on the road.
Just got hurt too. He's got a thumb injury, so it's like they're probably going to eat a loss this now.
Miami plays.
Miami's beatable.
Yeah, they are, because they don't play in their own stadium. That really helps, right?
It doesn't matter.
So here, at least this year, the structure of the playoffs, the first round is actually going to be on the home team of the higher seed, but the second round is at a neutral site.
Yes, that's right.
So Big 12, the winner of the Big 12 will likely be the 4 seed this year. And they'll probably play the 5 seed at a stadium closest to the Big 12 school. So if BYU were to win the conference, it's probably going to be at the Fiesta Bowl in Tempe. And you get Georgia or you get Ohio State coming there. And you'd have to win that game. Like you're saying, Bomber. And the reason that you have to win that game, this is what no one's talking about is, this is very clear to me, guys. The Big Ten and the SEC, they're not watching Big 12 football. They're not. They're watching their own football. They're considering us B-level football, because you can just look at the viewership numbers. They're not watching Big 12 games, and they won't watch Big 12 games until they start respecting us. The only way they'll respect is if you beat them, right? You've got to do it. That's the only solution. So how can you feel a team good enough to beat a Georgia, an Ohio State, a Bama? Does anyone have big piggy banks for NIL? Can you create some type of Gonzaga-level super team for the Big 12? Because that's probably what it's going to take to make some ripping roars in the playoff.
Really quick before we go ahead.
I was about to say, NIU beat Notre Dame.
We're talking making a playoff run. That's a game right after Texas A&M. You got Georgia on a neutral side. The spread's going to be 14 points for that game, right?
But they're beatable.
Yeah, but you're talking about they have 2-3 weeks to prepare for this game. It's not a regular week 4 matchup.
Whenever it comes down to bowl games, those are whole different animals. You're talking to somebody in 2005. They moved the Sugar Bowl from New Orleans to Atlanta. West Virginia played Georgia. Georgia was a heavy favorite in Atlanta. West Virginia won. And that wasn't even the best West Virginia team that they had during that run. Same thing in 2007. They played Oklahoma Fiesta Bowl.
I would say the difference is, Daniel, NIL and transfer portal have changed the world. The teams were much, much closer together before than they are now.
And I've said it before, you still had a discrepancy, the same discrepancy as you do now. Big teams will get all the 5 and 4-star recruits. Everybody else will be fighting for the 3 and 4 stars, maybe get a 4-star. It's been that way forever.
Yep. All right, let's get along here. Hey, Justin, I'm going to send you an invite if you want to join the show.
While you're doing that, I want to show current year ACC figures. I did not compile these, guys. This came from a Twitter account that does this type of stuff. Some of us are nerdy, like doing this stuff, but there's a Twitter account called Did the ACC Die Today? This is his work, his information. I have not corroborated it, but I believe it. So we're going to show it anyway. I don't care. Here, I'm going to show this. This is the ACC viewership through 8 games. So I guess this will go through week 7. So we didn't have this last Saturday information, but going through it. Let's take a look-see and see how they're performing here versus the Big 12 too. So, Daniel, you still nailed it, though. You want to think that the Big 12 average is right around the 1.1 million to 1.4 million, right, range. So let's just take a look-see here to see how ACC is doing. Okay, so need to zoom in at all? See if I can zoom in.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to zoom in on. I don't
think I can zoom in. Sorry, guys. Yeah. All right. So here, so this is saying that this is excluding non-Nielsen rating games. So the games that are on ACC network, they're not included in these numbers at all, right? So these are just the big network games. So Florida State's been through 6 games. At least Florida State had been on major TV 5 times, and they had done about 2.7 million per game. So Colorado's outperforming Florida State, which makes sense because Florida State's here. A team like this is funny. Like a team like Boston College, they were on one time, like week 1 or week 2. They had 4 million viewers with Florida State, and then now everyone thinks that their average viewership's 4 million a game. Like, really, it's much lower than that too. But for Nielsen rated games, they were on ABC probably one time, and they got 4 million. So that's what they produced. But let's look at other brands here. So your Duke. Duke was doing about 363,000 per game. Clemson, 2.7 million per game. So these are outperforming Big 12 averages. Like a bunch of these ACC schools, even Georgia Tech, 2.1 million per game. That's 3 games. That's outperforming Big 12. This is the first time I've really considered those two together. ACC numbers for the top end teams look a little bit better, guys.
I want to welcome in Coos from Coos Corner. How you doing, Justin?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So
What's up,
I'm not sure if you've seen this data. You can tell Ute is very passionate, about what we're talking about. Obviously, I know you've been talking about this stuff, especially through realignment, about what the Big 12 needs to do to get better. What do you think about these numbers, and what does it tell you?
It's concerning. It's concerning, to be honest with you. I knew we weren't going to, obviously I'm not naive. I know we're not going to be getting numbers like the Big 12, the Big 10 or the SEC, but I did never envision the numbers would be that low.
Yeah, let me bring it up so we can get back to it. So
it's for the year, right?
And and some of the teams that you thought would be up there higher on the list are not, like Utah, for example.
Yeah,
Utah's underperformed.
I thought their fan base would be more into it. Of course, that's again, winning, whether the team's winning or not, has a lot to do with this too.
Of course, the non-Nielsen rated games thing is a big deal, also. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that brings that average down as well.
Yeah.
Utah's underperforming this year compared to their 3-year average, guys. They had a really good season last year. Utah was doing about 1.5 million last year, and they're down to 1 million.
So what happens when you don't win? They've
been on TV a lot and stuff. I was really hoping Utah would get a Big 12 bump. I don't know.
I don't know either. Hey, do you want me to bring in Jeff Fuller here, Ute?
We can bring Jeff in too. It's going to get a little crazy. That's good though. Let's get his thoughts too.
Okay, so Jeff, I'm going to give you a couple minutes here, and then we're going to open it up to the. I certainly want to hear back from Coos and kind of what your analysis is. But why don't you kind of tell us, see through the mist, and tell us really what's going on here with these Big 12 numbers?
Yeah, none of us want to admit it. We all love our Big 12 teams, but it is the biggest brands that drive the biggest eyeballs. And also, when Texas and Oklahoma were in the league, they were much more apt to watch, Texas Tech versus, Baylor game, or much more apt to watch Oklahoma State, Iowa State game. Those are massive fan bases, and missing those fan bases that are sort of into football anyways, but are also sort of either hate watching their rival or seeing how, is someone going to step over them in the conference race and, get to Arlington and, ace them out of the spot. Those things matter. And, we hate to admit that. I think that's part of Utah's problem right now is they don't have the USC and Oregon and Washington fan bases really caring about what happens to them much anymore. And that's right. That's a big hit. And they don't get to play them in those games, and that's what my comment about earlier about Colorado was, not just removing Colorado's viewership, but also removing the viewership that each team, if you look at the list there, almost all the teams, Kansas State, Arizona, Baylor, UCF, some of those that are a little higher than expected are, a lot of their boost and total viewership is from the game against Colorado.
Correct.
And that's just sort of the dirty little secret when all these teams quote their great viewership. Like I think Navy always has like a top 40 viewership, top 45 viewership, but it's mainly because of their Army Navy game and/or a game against Notre Dame, put in there. So almost all their viewership comes from those two games. Like I think it's like 80% of their viewership. So This is my son Michael here, my 4-year-old.
Hi, Michael.
Hey.
He's got Down syndrome. He's an awesome young man. Say hey,
Well-
Michael, say hi.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Go on,
Welcome.
Michael.
Hey,
There we go.
You know how to
I
do
like
Go
it.
Cougars? You know how to do Go Cougars?
Yeah, go Cougars. Let's go.
He has
So
to
Jeff,
feel
just one last question for you, really. Then, like, so strategically, what do you do if you're the Big 12? Like, because this all matters for the next TV contract and everything. What are the solutions here to this problem?
Well, that's why I'm not paid anything to do what I do, because I mean, honestly,
You don't even know?
you want your biggest fan bases to get, their teams up to the top. And if you look at, who probably has the most fans, it is places like West Virginia, Oklahoma State, BYU. They're the ones with the biggest upside. I'm probably leaving some people out and offending some people, but
Utah,
the Arizona schools, those are sleeping giants. They've never broken through on the football stage to the elite level, but honestly, that's sort of what you want, is your biggest states with your biggest populations to have consistently better teams that are driving the ratings. That's the other thing. You look at those other teams on the top of the list there, that haven't played Colorado, but almost all of them are maybe I'm speaking falsehoods. He doesn't want me to speak right now. They've been ranked to start the year. And so that, your ranking drives your channels, and that sort of drives your viewership. So that's a big factor of it as well. Utah, Kansas State. Kansas State's the only team, I believe, who started ranked and is still ranked. They've been ranked all year. So it's no surprise that they're right behind, Colorado, in addition to having played Colorado. So rankings really matter. And, that's usually 2 to 3 weeks out on your next viewership. Once you get ranked, then you start getting the better windows.
So Jeff, I have a question for you too. So let's just go back in the Wayback Machine and say the Big 12 had gotten, all the teams that are winning now were correctly rated in in the top 25. Does that affect these numbers to the point where Iowa State's now maybe 7, maybe BYU's at 9? Are we talking big numbers then, or is it still going to be sort of this, gradual climb?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I think especially once you get into the top 10, you're really driving, then the other teams that have the massive fan bases are starting to look at you as a rival, the Ohio State fans, Alabama, Georgia fans. They're going to want to check out, hey, are these teams legit? Are they going to be able to beat us? And when you get SEC fans starting to watch you because you're a serious threat, that's when your viewership really, your casual viewers really go up. And that's really, a big factor. Well, one thing I learned, I was listening to I think it was a SBJ podcast recently, and they had a Fox Media guy on, and he said that the Nielsen ratings, the dirty little secret about them is that 1/3 of the U.S. and its small towns and rural communities are not even on the Nielsen rating system. And so I found that really interesting.
Wow.
Okay. We're mainly looking at the bigger cities and suburbia and, some of your medium-sized cities and towns.
Which is the exact opposite of the Big 12, which is obviously, smaller towns, more rural states that are flyover states. So you think that there's maybe a third not being accounted for?
That's what the guy on the podcast says. I'll look that up. But it was the Sports Business Journal podcast, Sportico. Sporticast, I think that was the one it was on recently.
Okay.
And, it was really interesting to listen and talk, because they were talking about viewership and everything, like, NFL, Major League Baseball, college football. And, they were very upfront with the idea that college football is the number 2 sport in America, I wouldn't say right behind the NFL, big gap from the NFL to college football, and then smaller gaps to NBA and Major League Baseball, et cetera. But interesting stuff. Yeah.
Well, good stuff, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you joining for a few minutes.
All right, go Cougs. Let's
go. Cougs. That's right. Let's go.
We're going to ride that horse as long as we can.
Let's go. I'm ready for it. Hey, you got to watch that cut. That is the best, Jeff.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
See you later.
All right, see you.
All right, Coos, we got to get your feedback too.
Yes,
so that's good stuff by
absolutely.
Jeff. I want to get your take though, Coos.
On which part?
All of it.
Okay.
Give us what's top of mind.
If the private equity is a big talk right now. One of the things that come to my mind is if I'm a private equity firm and I'm looking at these numbers, why would I want to invest my money into this product?
It's a fair question.
What am I going to gain from it? And Jeff talked about the big cities. Houston's the biggest city in the Big 12, and they have the second lowest viewership numbers.
That's true. That's true.
So I'm not. I don't know that this. I understand the city argument, and it matters to a degree, but if your fan base isn't into it, it doesn't help that much. So yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind was yes. What PE firm would want to invest in the Big 12 and what could they do with the Big 12? And obviously this is kind of a open-ended question, but what could they do with a conference like the Big 12 to help it generate more revenue?
Right.
I don't know.
You guys were going right into UConn conversation. It's natural. Like you see these numbers and stuff and like the big support for UConn is if you add UConn in as a full member, because of the markets that UConn brings, New York, Boston, Concord, you just add so much new market there that makes it more attractive for private equity investment.
But isn't Houston the exact opposite argument?
Yes.
I mean, Houston's the same thing.
Houston, but so you add Houston, they're the lowest viewership number. You bring in UConn, and they could be 400,000 too, just buying the market. That's why the market thing. Bob has talked about the market being one of the what did we say? The five rules, right? Market
the five,
was one of them.
The pillars, right?
But brand, rivalries. There's other things that are, I think,
storylines.
Storylines is another one that Bob's has said over and over again. So I think the Big 12, Brett Yormark, is he in this for the long haul? Is he willing to stick with this for another 2-3 years to build this story up for 2030, 31?
Now, here's something where Coos is at. If he watches a WVU game, because it would be out Beckley or Bluefield, that market's so small, it's not a top 100 market. They do not catalog those markets.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I agree with that. I've actually done the Nielsen surveys before.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I thought they didn't catalog.
Well, that's why I didn't want to poo-poo Jeff's argument, but I've actually had Nielsen reach out to me and say, "Hey, will you participate in our study?" I did it. I won't do it again because it was a pain in the rear end.
They are a pain.
They pay you like $20. You fill out this thing for everything you watch for 1 week, and you turn it back in.
Okay. I didn't know that Beckley and Bluefield was in that. I know Charleston is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Terry Kane, who's a Miami fan, obviously good member of the Mafia family, says, look at how big Miami is, and it's hard to fill seats and get viewership. The Miami numbers are a bit confusing. Can you explain the Miami numbers at all?
Miami produces well historically. They're top 3 in the ACC historically, if Notre Dame's not considered, which they shouldn't be. So Miami is performing as you'd expect, and they've been down for the last 10 years too. This year, Miami's numbers are pretty good, and like they've got that brand market amplifier. So once Miami does get good, folks start watching them more because they know the Miami brand. But guys, I think that we got to think about something. Okay, so for private equity investment might differ a little bit from viewership. So we're talking about different ways of making money. So you make money through the viewership side through a TV contract, right? And like what matters is the eyeballs, right? Because that's what when you get commercials and everything, you make ad revenue based on that. So largely that's the driver. For PE though, it's a little bit different because for private equity, they might be more interested in a large market because they're not as focused on the viewership, but they're focused on the market presence of the university. And the fact that folks in that market who might not be watching games, but would recognize logos and branding and everything might be attracted to that. And so when private equity is investing, they might not even be in it for the viewership portion. They're just in it for the market portion, the affiliation with the market school, because they can make money off different ways. So there's a couple different ways to think about this.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say something. Whenever it comes down to like university identification, the number one out there is the Ivy League.
Sure.
And let's look at that markets. You've got Boston, you've got Providence, Rhode Island, you've got New York, you've got Philadelphia, you're in New Jersey, you're in all these big markets. How many people are clamoring for Ivy League athletics? Nobody.
It's different though, right?
Yeah, it's different because
it's different.
Yes, they are 1AA or FCS now, but you don't see people clamoring with universities that everybody knows, everybody's heard of in giant markets saying, wow, I want to watch them play football.
Yeah, but that's not their academics, right? They're about and they're not. They don't.
Oh,
they don't care that
but
much.
But that's the academics and academics and markets argument right there. I can point to them and hey, guess what? Gigantic schools in gigantic markets and great universities.
But let's say this, Daniel. Let's say this. Let's decide that Harvard and Yale, just those two, decide to start playing big time football. If they wanted to, they could be a massive couple of schools putting NIL and transfer portal.
I think it would take.
Well, everything takes time.
I think it would take quite a number of years.
I don't know. You can buy a roster in 2-3 years.
Yeah, you can buy a roster, but will anybody in Boston? Will anybody in New York? Will anybody in Philadelphia?
My point is, I don't think it matters. Their brands are so big, I don't think it matters if people are watching them or not.
Yeah, you know what the big thing is though, like with private equity, like corporate sponsorship is a big revenue source for athletic departments. That's away from a media contract. That's what like the local national companies in your market that want to be affiliated with your school. And you can slap a Big 12 logo on that too. So from a private equity standpoint, they're like, okay, well, obviously Houston is a growing brand and a huge market and stuff. Could we lift this, get them more corporate sponsorship? And then can we take our fee and cut from that too by making them a bunch of money with different companies? Private equity is going to make money in about 10 different ways. And one way is television revenue and television viewership. So they're smart. They know it. They're going to have tentacles in everything. And so it's pretty holistic with private equity. So it's kind of a different animal in a school and an A4 conference in a big market is attractive for private equity.
I think that's what Daniel's saying. I totally agree. I think what the point is that everything takes time if you put enough money behind it. But let's get off this for a little bit because this has been depressing. I don't like depressing shows.
We're talking about solutions here. We get some private equity funding.
I want to say this: UNLV. Keep an eye on UNLV.
Okay.
Especially if the private equity conversation heats up. UNLV. Brett Yormark has kind of dropped subtle hints that he wants to be in Vegas.
It's true. Talk about a brand that would take some lift though.
Oh yeah,
they're good this year, but they haven't been good for 40 years. So
it would, but
I don't know.
But to Wild Ute's point, if that matters to a private equity firm on big markets matter to them.
Fair enough, right? It's definitely a growing market. There's no doubt about it.
Their market size 40.
It all depends what the guys want to pay for. If private equity guys just want to come in, slap a brand on it, and just put a product out, anything's possible.
Okay, we've all been to. I know Kuz has brought up that he's been to Las Vegas. I know you have.
Yeah,
I love
Vegas.
I don't know if Bomb.
I've been there many times.
Okay. I've been there a bunch of times too. Whenever you go to Las Vegas, do you think UNLV football?
No, but you could if they put enough money behind it. You could. It's a pro town now anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, the Raiders. Well, they were outnumbered by Steeler fans.
But that's my point is the Raiders can't even draw, right?
Yeah.
It's going to take 20 years, a generation for that thing to get built up again. All right, let's get off this private equity. We are going to do many shows on this look in the mirror crap for the Big 12. This week was eye-opening for all of us. Even Kuz has come in and said, this kind of surprises me. It's going to take a holistic entire process for everybody that's Big 12 oriented to promote the conference. That's the bottom line. Is we all need to be promoting this conference so more people watch. But that's not the end all be all. Private equity also involves basketball. There's other things you can do with the branding, like you said. There's many ways to make money. So we'll get back to this in the future. I don't know what week 8's. We all play week 8. Nobody plays week 9. We're off week 9. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Holy
week
Wars
8. Yeah, well, Holy War's next. That's the only thing I care about. All right, Coos, let's get back to West Virginia really quick before we get to comments. I know this is something you and Daniel really care about. We did. Daniel talked about it a little bit. What do you think happens with this Neil Brown thing? Does this get sorted out in the off season, or is it bye week? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't think they do anything during the season. To be honest with you, I just don't think that's West Virginia style. Gordon Gee would. I don't think Gordon Gee would allow it. The president Gordon Gee would allow it. To be honest, even if Renbacker wanted to, I do. It wouldn't surprise me if they make some changes to the assistant coaching staff maybe during the bye week or something like that. But I don't see a head coaching change during the season. Okay. But it wouldn't surprise me to see it happen during the off season. I think donors are getting antsy from everything I'm hearing and reading. You heard had a reporter today come out and say he's hearing that Brown's out in the off season.
Neil Brown's and then he retracted that, right? He said it and then took it back.
He did take it back. Okay, I didn't see that part. Okay.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they deleted the tweet and everything. Yeah, it all came back. So but that doesn't mean they're not talking about it though.
That's probably because West Virginia made them. But West Virginia is one of the most tight-lipped, close to the best universities in America, man.
And it was a guy from Las Vegas, which
correct.
Yeah.
Would he really know anything?
No.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's a fair argument. Would he really? I mean, even though he's been in the industry a long time, and I'm sure he has some connections, how closely is he following what's happening in Morgantown?
Very fair. What's going on with Garrett Green?
Don't know, man. It's a mystery. I don't know if maybe losing his starting center hurt more than we thought it was going to. That's one theory. Maybe he just is who he is, man. And at this point, he's a runner, and he's a runner that can make some throws. And you need to focus on that and quit trying to make him a pocket passer.
Okay. When he went down, I was just curious if that was something you guys had a good backup. If that, the plan is there for West Virginia.
He's supposed to be good. We may find out Saturday how good he is.
Okay.
He was the guy that beat TCU last year.
Yeah.
And
okay.
What was it? Pitt, TCU, and what was the other game he had to play last year? I can't remember.
Those were the two he started in, but he also played. But he played backup duty in a few other games. But this year he played pretty well, and he came in an Oklahoma State game and a couple others. But he didn't play very well last week. But he was kind of thrown into a bad situation. So
was 9-3 a stretch last year?
I think so. We played all four of the newcomers who were all needed a year to get to adjust.
Yeah.
And then TCU and Texas Tech both ended up being bad teams.
So. Yeah. I was curious because I agree with you. I think maybe that was instead of that being the rule, it was the exception.
You want to know how many wins they've had against winning teams with winning records last year?
How many? None. Okay.
No way.
Well, I take that back. One, the bowl game.
No, I think Texas Tech ended up with a winning record.
Texas Tech was 6-6.
Yeah, and they won their bowl game. So
they won their bowl game. Yeah, two.
We need more 8-4, 9-3 teams in the Big 12. We need, these 2 and 5 things are just brutal.
From a positive, West Virginia's schedule on paper, at least, it does get a little easier. Arizona's not very good. Cincinnati's not bad, but Cincinnati's pretty good, but they're beatable, I think.
Yeah.
Baylor's beatable.
Baylor's better than people think, though.
UCF is probably a W because they can't throw the football, and that's what West Virginia struggles with. Texas Tech probably puts up 60 on West Virginia, so I don't think that's one.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining, Kuz. You're welcome to
Absolutely.
Stick around. We're going to cruise through the grades for the Big 12. We're going to do this on speed, so I'm just going to let you run
Thanks
through
for having me on, guys. I'm going to roll.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for coming, Kuz. We really appreciate it. Great to see you.
Absolutely.
Let's cruise through these Big 12 grades.
Yeah, everybody check out Kuz Corner on YouTube. Look him up. Also look him up on Twitter. We appreciate him joining definitely friend of the show. Everything he does, we appreciate you, Coos. Thank you. Jeff Fuller as well. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Coos.
Jeff Fuller, absolutely good stuff from everybody. Let's get through the A grades. Baylor, great game. Texas Tech gets the upset win. Ooh, dangerous team. A grade. So then Colorado, big time win. Colorado's very dangerous. I'm telling you guys, Colorado's going to be a threat down the line. A grade, baby. A grade with a 34-7 win over Arizona. Believe it or not, the KU Jayhawks. I wish that we had Moan in here to do that Jayhawks block, right?
Right.
A grade for the first time all season long. Heck yeah, 42-14 over Houston. Houston is that up and down team, but good job, Jayhawks, getting off the skid here and getting the win here. So then the last A grade goes to K-State. K-State beats West Virginia. Sorry, Daniel Gygax, Coos. But, man, the K-State really put it on you guys. A grade for the Cats. The Cats look real dangerous, real good here. True playoff contender. Let's look at the good grades, the B's here. So Cincinnati with a solid win versus Arizona State. Arizona State without Sam Levitt. A little bit different story. They have no kicking game whatsoever out there, but they're trying to figure things out. Good performance by Cincy. Good win. Hopefully you get off ESPN Plus soon. All right, so TCU looking a B grade over Utah. Utah was supposed to win that game by 6. They lost. TCU won by 6 points. So good B grade, solid grade.
Let me stop you really quick. Was that the ugliest Utah game you have ever seen?
Yeah, that was the ugliest Utah game I've ever seen.
I think it's the worst. And I go back old, right? I'm way old, and I cannot remember a Utah team looking so disorganized.
The game was so bad that Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator, oh my gosh, I haven't even talked about this Andy Ludwig situation, guys. Andy Ludwig is a great offensive coordinator, been with the Utah program for 10 years. This is his second stint. He resigned on yesterday because of this performance and because of this 3-game losing streak for Utah. Andy Ludwig, if you guys might remember, about a year and a half ago, Notre Dame tried to pull him away from Utah. Right. Notre Dame wanted him to be the offensive coordinator. Utah matched the offer, basically held him to the contract.
Yep.
Notre Dame wanted Andy Ludwig. Utah held him in house, and then he resigns a year and a half later. It sucks. This whole situation sucks. Sucks. It just pisses me off talking about, actually. So let's move on here. All right, so satisfactory grades here. So BYU, C-.
What? Okay, that's BS.
No. That's not BS. Utah got a C- earlier this year when they got a win too. But guess what? You guys were supposed to take care of business by 7. The way you won at the end of the game was cool, but it's a C- grade right there. So BYU gets the first C of the year.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that Ute bias there?
Yes.
Yes, it is. But keep going. It's all right.
Iowa State gets a win, but they get a C- as well because they came back and beat UCF. They should have beat UCF soundly. That was what Vegas was thinking, but they got it 38-35. So Iowa State gets the win, but a C- grade. And then Oklahoma State, I'm going to throw a C- on them because they way overperformed. If Rangel doesn't go down, who knows what happens? It was a great game. They blew it. Cougars got the win. It's crazy. That game was wild. But they get a C- grade too for the performance, a much better performance than we've seen out of the Pokes for a while. And then lastly, UCF gets a C- for almost beating Iowa State. So a lot of C- go around. Now we're getting poor grades. The D's. So D for Arizona State versus Cincinnati for having the kicking woes and just playing a not great game after playing multiple good games. D. Now let's get to the fails. There's lots of fails, guys. Let's get it over here. So Arizona with the double fail in a week and a 7 and 8. They just got their freaking butts kicked by Colorado. That's it.
And Arizona is what the hell? Talk about Utah. I mean,
Arizona and Utah are tail spinning into oblivion right now. It can change, but
they play WVU.
You better beat them. That only A that they got week 5, Arizona got an A versus Utah. It sucks. Yeah. All right, so Houston, after a bye week, throws out enough performance here, getting blown out by KU, who hadn't won a game forever. So Houston, not a good football team. They'll throw some A's on the board, but mostly F's all season. They're flunking, certainly. They got Utah this weekend. All right, so Texas Tech, F grade versus Baylor, with all the expectations, with all the Texas Tech fans saying that we have got 0 conference losses. We're going to get it done. Man, this was an opportunity to get it done. Baylor looked great. Sawyer Robinson looked really strong. Baylor's dangerous now. Texas Tech, gosh, you can't lose in this game. The Butt Bowl, get an F grade in the Butt Bowl. It's a tough one. So Texas Tech with an F, and then my Utah Utes, they deserve this F, double Fs, guys. After look at that, 3 Fs in a row, actually. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
TCU beats Utah after Utah was favored to win this game by 6. Utah scored 7 points. After the game, the offensive coordinator resigned again. Ludwig's gone. We've got a guy named he's an old Northwestern coordinator, and
the fact that you can't even say his name, just crazy.
It's Tim Badashian?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's got a weird.
I'm not pronouncing it right, but like his name's not the easiest to say. But I need to learn it. We'll see how it goes. I think offense can't get much worse than 7, right?
So I saw a list of all the Big 12 quarterbacks. Jake Retzlaff right now is right behind Shedeur Sanders. He's number 2.
Yeah.
Both Utah quarterbacks are the bottom last 15 or 16 and 17. I'm just stunned.
I mean, the quarterback play and like the play calling has been really tough. And then Utah's defense is actually number 2 in the Big 12. It's not defense. Defense looks great. The special teams fine. It's the offensive side of the football. They can't get conversions. They can't score points. It's not good. So that's why you have the change in OC. Maybe something sparks. Hopefully so. Cam Rising ain't coming back though, guys. It's just been a tough year for Utah. So F grade though. After that loss to TCU, one of the more sad games, depressing games I've ever been to live and stuff. So it was a rough one. And then lastly, Mr. Gygax, I got to hand you the F, buddy.
Somebody from the Sickos committee, I listened to their podcast, was there at the game. And she's like real stingy. They have these little pens that they'll hand out. And there was like a minute something left in the game. And there was probably nobody left in that building. And she sent out a tweet saying, if you want to come and get a Sickos pen, I'm in section blah, 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 blah. I'm here for the next, just like minute something left in the game. And like 8 people went up there to her. She's like, yeah, those are the people that deserve those pens to stick around because that building was empty by the end of the game. I mean, I bet you less than 1,000 people were left.
I gotta say, West Virginia fans are some of the most loyal in the Big 12. Since we've been in the Big 12. They've been the ones that have outreached the most, the ones that say, hey, let's make this thing go. And I just can't believe how many of them want him gone. It's been pretty incredible on social media.
He's had 2 winning seasons. He went 6-4 in 2020, and he went 9-4 last year.
Yeah, he was going to get fired almost the year before.
He was going to get fired the year before.
Yeah.
Then he won at Oklahoma State, and they beat Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and they went 5-7. It was Ren Baker just took over, and they said, okay, we're going to keep them so I can do an evaluation. They went 9-4 last year, and they're 3-4 right now.
It was a mirage.
I like I said, if they're 3-5 going into the bye week against Cincinnati, I can see a lot of coaches gone. I do not know if Brown would be one of those coaches.
I want to see a bloodbath.
If they're 4-4, if they're 4-4,
I'd love to see just everything turn over.
If they're 4-4, I think things will be okay till the end of the year. That I have no insight.
He's lost the point is he's lost the fans. That's all I'm talking about. I don't really care about whether he's good or he's bad. He's lost the fans. That's the point.
Yes.
Right.
And what was interesting was they were talking about flying a banner over Mountaineer Field, saying,
yeah, we saw that too.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, I want to say it was 90. I want to say 91. Maybe Coos can help me remember it. There was somebody that had a banner that flew over Mountaineer Field saying "Fire Don Neal."
Okay.
And a couple years before that, in '88, they went 11-0, lost the national championship. In 91, they wanted him gone. 93, he goes undefeated again. So the thing is, they're upset, but let's say Neil Brown pulls the 7-5, they win a bowl game, 8-5. They're not going to get rid of him. Not at 8-5. Things would be a little bit better. So I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to see. That's winning out. That would be pretty difficult, I think.
No, that's losing one more game.
Oh, essentially. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ute, is this your last grade?
Koo says, I'll say it again, F grade stands for fire Neil Brown.
Yeah.
You know what's ironic about that, Coos? I mean, the Utes got a double F, and now they've replaced a coordinator. So there's some truth in you put up Fs, there's going to be some firings or forced resignations or whatever you want to call it. That's just the fact. When you underperform your expectations week in, week out, there needs to be changes. So, yeah. Neil.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about the grades?
Nope.
Okay.
Watch Big 12 content.
Yeah, we got people that are dedicated to this channel. Watch Big 12 games. We need as much help as we can. 413 people. I don't know how many are casuals on X, but we appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you're following all of us on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're on X, do us a favor, jump over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so we get a thumbs up from you guys. We appreciate everybody being here. And we're going to go into super speed motion comments. And I think what we'll probably do, since we've gone an hour and a half without many comments, I think we're going to work backwards. So anybody that left comments early in the show, I apologize if I don't get to them. Certainly at this point, if you want your comment to be read, I think I've got how many? 56 queued up. Probably won't get to any more. So make it a super chat, and we'll certainly get to it. Make sure your comment is read, and we discuss it at length. All right. I'm just going to jump to the end. And last comment, I can't even get to the end. Here we go. Last comment is from Coos, but we have fun tailgating. All right. That's awesome.
You're not alone. It's fun tailgating the Ute lot too, man.
It is. I've been
like
there.
Tailgating and eating losses.
I agree with that 100%. How about this one? Doc Gibbs. Love you, Doc. Appreciate you being here representing the ACC. We definitely need that. West Virginia has a great and passionate fan base, and I empathize with their disappointment and wanting a coaching change. Their fans deserve better. In 15 seconds, Daniel, sum that up.
There's a lot of expectations to actually win games there at WVU, and Neil Brown just hasn't.
Okay. All right. Very good. Appreciate it. That's bottom line. I like that. Rock and Rant, obviously one of the contributing members, also a paid member of the Mafia family. Appreciate it, Rock. It's my fault, Coos. I keep picking West Virginia. I've now added them to the FSU list, so things should be looking better. Yeah. I was really concerned when Greg Pflugar, the OG, picked BYU. I almost called him and cussed him out because I was not happy about that. So, yeah, I guess Rock and Rant has the same effect on people. I didn't realize that. Moen checking in. He slides in the side door. We need more brands like Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson in the Big Ten and the SEC Ute.
Oh, Moan.
All he's doing is stirring stuff up, Ute.
I know, Moan. You got to stir the pot up here. Like, hey, you know what? The non-P2 needs as much big brand as it can get, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here and everything. Adding Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson to the Big Ten or the SEC is going to create even bigger eyeballs, more viewership and everything, and probably make certainly the ACC whatever is left over, and the Big 12 probably less off because of the promotion. So, yeah, it's probably not going to be a good day for the Big 12 once that happens. Once those teams jump, if they do get an invite.
Yeah, so if we took out the top three brands, and that would be Clemson, Florida State, and Miami from the ACC, how would you equate the ACC then against the Big 12? About equal?
I think the Big 12 would have a little bit more high end,
okay.
and better middle. but there would be the top end of the ACC would be pretty on par with like the middle to top of the Big 12. So I think the Big 12 would be worth more at that time, but not substantially.
Okay.
And honestly, like the ACC and the Big 12 right now, the media contract, the payouts and everything that they're getting are pretty equal right now because of the contract the ACC signed. And that's why these schools want to get out so bad, because they're getting so underpaid. They're getting absolutely milked. Miami, Florida State, and Clemson and everything. But if you remove all those schools and everything, you've got a conference that's worse off than the Big 12, somewhere between the Big 12 and probably the Pac-12 at this point.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Another one from Doc Gibbs. This year, the ACC as a football conference is down, very weak as a conference. I agree. It's a 3-team conference. Not much different than Big 12, to be honest, though. But because of scheduling teams like Miami, who should have a loss, I don't know about that, and Clemson have been made to look better than they are. Let me say this about Clemson. I agree with you on Clemson. I think they're overrated. They haven't beaten anybody. We went through their schedule last week. There's nobody there that impresses me. Miami, I've watched probably every game except for maybe 1 or 2 when I was down for surgery and whatnot, and I think Miami's real.
SMU is the one that worries me because
they're dangerous.
We went through their schedule last week. Other than Pitt,
nobody. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that is pillowy soft.
We'll see when it goes. Thanks, Doc. We appreciate your comment. Thanks for being here, by the way. Keep chopping, checking in, Rutgers, Kansas. Let's go.
You guys, I'm telling you, KU has the talent to rip the rest of the schedule up. I'm telling you. I don't know who they're playing and everything. They've been waiting. It seems like they've turned a corner. And if they get hot, then you better watch out, because they're going to cause some havoc. Like the Jayhawks, I think, are on the rise here.
Who wants to bet right now in, I think it's 3 or 4 weeks when they go to BYU? It's a night game. Anybody want to take that bet?
Easy.
Oh, yeah. I'm certain.
They draw every night game at BYU has been the top or the second best night game in all of college football, except for I think the Colorado game still is number 1. But every other week, so BYU Kansas at night. I'm just saying, book it now.
8:30 Mountain Time kickoff.
Absolutely.
Yep.
On ESPN. Let's go. Darth Ducky says you need to entice FSU and Clemson with higher revenue distribution. That's one way to go about it. What else are we talking about there?
Man, we're getting into the theories of how to make the Big 12 more valuable. And one of the ideas to make the Big 12 more valuable is to do whatever it takes to get the biggest brands out of the ACC if they don't have an avenue into the SEC at the Big 10. So that's what brings Florida State and Clemson possibly and having chatter with the Big 12. I mean, that was reported, within the last 6 months that Florida State had, back-end communication with Big 12. And Florida State fans didn't want to hear that. I get it and everything. But if you did entice them with unequal revenue distribution, look, I'm all for that, guys.
Me too.
As a Ute fan and stuff, I want to make this conference as good as possible. And if you're adding big brands in and stuff, it's not going to hurt you as the Big 12, and it's probably going to destroy the ACC, which is going to be a benefit probably, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would seem what the ACC
definitely got to be an option.
Become. Right. Agree with you. Daniel, anything you want to say on that one?
Well, until all the lawsuits are settled, we really won't know what FSU and Clemson are going to do.
Fair.
And you've heard zero from Disney on the contract extension with the ACC. I think that they're waiting to find out, hey, what's going on with this, with these lawsuits. Because Disney doesn't want to sign an extension not knowing if FSU and Clemson are staying. So
in January, I'm going to get with Mo and we're going to create a countdown clock. And it's going to be in hours. And it's going to run to the end of January. And it's going to be a countdown clock for ACC, whatever. Moen, you're there. You're watching. Need to start working on that. Get that programmed up. All the hours in the month of January, we're going to count down, and it's just going to be ticking, tick, tick, tick. Every show will have the counter up. That would be awesome. All right. Anyway, that was just funny. Ryan Willie checking in with the super chat saying no Super League.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. We appreciate it. No Super League. I don't think necessarily we're supportive of Super League, but we are supportive of Utah and BYU being included in anything, and West Virginia. So I don't care
We're
what you
supportive of
call
our
it.
teams in the Super League.
That's right. I don't care about anybody else. Just Utah, BYU, and West Virginia.
Let's be real about it, right?
Yeah,
I get it. There's a lot of Big Ten folks that don't want Super League, and I get it. You cite the television figures, you don't need Super League to draw big eyeballs. Yeah, it's true. Private equity could make you a lot more money, double, triple money.
There we go.
That's going to be the draw.
Utes going to be selling this. Daily, Utes going to be selling this.
I mean, that's the thing. They're leaving a lot of money on the table. If you're looking for your max potential, if you're in the Big Ten, you're not reaching it currently. There's too many schools that are milking off this TV contract. You eliminate them, you get paid max. We've talked about this before. It's that simple, guys. It really is. The private equity can enhance the value of your school and your payouts to a level the Big Ten can never. So that's how I see it. It is what it is.
All right. I'm going to bring this up just because I'm selfish. This is a report. The number one basketball recruit is going to go to BYU more than likely, and they're going to pay him $4 to $4.5 million.
What?
Read it. Multiple sources tell on 3 Sports that number one basketball recruit AJ.
What kind of? Is this Ryan Smith money?
Oh yeah,
yes, it is Ryan Smith money.
Dude, I really don't like Ryan Smith.
It's Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge actually combined. A source close to BYU said $4 to $4.5 million is what they're prepared to pay. And by the way, number 2, the 5th recruit is also a teammate of AJ's, and they're thinking about he might come in as well.
Remember, Ryan Smith paid cash for the hockey team, and he
had silly money,
and rumor on the $1.5 billion offer to buy the Athletics, and was told no.
Yeah, that's what
still
you
can't figure that one out.
When you maximize internet search engine stuff, that's how you get paid.
Yeah.
Larry, the GM, good to see you, Larry. Does the TV data impact how you have built your realignment models? It would seem historical Big 12 numbers were propped up by Texas and OU. That's hard to argue, right?
Yeah. That's let's take a look-see at that. Do you guys mind?
No, go.
I don't know the answer to that yet because I think that based on what I've seen, it looks kind of in line with historical averages a little bit. Okay. So let's just take a look-see to answer the question, Larry, and everything. We're going to dig into this together. I don't know. We're learning. We're experimenting here. All right. So K-State. This has been a great year. They did play Colorado. They got a boost. K-State's been averaging on all games, not just Nielsen rated games, and all games. They've had an ESPN Plus game too, but they're averaging about 1.6 million views per game this year. And here historically, they've been around 760,000.
Oh, wow.
They're double their viewership this year. K-State's a good team, though. They've been good. Like Jeff Fuller said, they've been ranked all year. They've got a fun team to watch. They're way outperforming. They're doubling their viewership compared to when Texas and OU were in conference. Let's take a look at somebody else, though, okay? Let's take a look at – so Iowa State's having a good year. Probably not the best example. What about Baylor would be a good one, okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Baylor did play Colorado once, so there's a caveat there, but still, Baylor's probably a good example. Doing 1.1 million per game viewership-wise, Baylor. Let's take a look at historically. Baylor historically has been doing about 1.1 million. No change. 3-year average, about 1 million, and 8-year average, 1.1 million with some good seasons in there. Mm-hmm. Not seeing a lot of change from historical Big 12 teams.
Yeah. I saw WVU's number was about was about the same. Yeah.
1.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.2 historically.
They played Colorado as well.
No, they have not. They have.
Oh, I thought West Virginia did.
No.
Okay.
No, they have.
West Virginia has no change at all.
Yep.
So,
they're the same.
To answer the question, Larry, there's for historical Big 12 teams, there's been no change or a boost so far for K-State. For Arizona, the Wildcats, they're getting a huge boost for going into Big 12 because they were always on the Pac-12 network.
Right.
Utah has taken a step back viewership-wise slightly compared to historical years, but it looks like Big 12 teams are actually performing well in this new environment.
You know, the word was during realignment that if Big 12 had a contract renegotiating right now, the rumor was they would double in value. And looking at these numbers, Is there any justification to that statement? That was a blind quote on Twitter during the summer, during realignment conversations and bringing in ACC schools, that if it was renegotiated right now, they would actually be worth more, because when they negotiated the number before, it was deflated because they were going, basically undercutting the Pac-12. What do you think about that? Do you think there's anything to justify they double in value?
Are we talking ACC?
The Big 12.
Or the Big 12 contract doubling in value? No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right. I never
like,
thought so. So
look, Colorado is like the ratings driver right now, but Prime's not going to be there forever, right?
Right.
So I think that maybe a small boost, but not much.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, these teams, they're kind of worth what they're worth.
Moen's checking in again with $5 super chat. Thank you, Moen. I see you're not a member, Moen. That's a problem. We know no Super League, but that one in the north whose name is Big.
Oh, he's got Moen After Dark. He is a member, Moen After Dark. He's got 2 accounts.
I'm teasing him. I'm just saying this. Somebody decide for this for me, because I don't understand it. What does that mean?
We know no Super League, but the one in the north whose name is Big Ten. So he's saying Big Ten.
Saying the Big Ten is the Super League. That's what he's saying.
Big Ten is already. He's saying Big Ten is already Super League. So
why
he's basically saying brush it off the shoulder. We're peons in the Big 12. And
right. Yeah. Well, he's not going to get that from us. Illini Ted, again, a member for 7 months. Illini Ted, thank you so much. We don't have sounders, but you're going to get claps from us. Thank you so much for everything you've done for us, Illini Ted. Big 12 path of viewers, start making noise in the CFP. That's my point. Got to win some games in the CFP. First, you got to get more than one team in. That by itself will be a huge perception changer. Right now, everybody's saying they only get one school. If they can get more than one school in this year, the very first year, heads will start to turn, I think.
You need Iowa State and BYU to go undefeated into the championship game.
I agree with that.
Has to happen. If you've got one loss or more, I just don't see it happening. Now, unless it's the championship game loss.
Now, if BYU loses to Utah, I think everybody would understand why that sort of turned out that way. An 11-1 BYU playing 11-1 Kansas State, or for that matter, Iowa State. I think that still draws. There's a possibility that team gets in. That second.
So Utah could technically beat BYU. BYU wins out, goes to the Big 12 championship game, beats an undefeated Iowa State. Big 12, BYU gets in the 4 seed, and Iowa State would slip in probably with one loss to BYU. Right. That's an avenue.
What do you think about K-State beating Iowa State in the same?
John Kurtz, who writes for K-State, had it where there was a one-loss K-State where they beat Iowa State. Iowa State beats BYU in the championship in Arlington. So you have 3 one-loss teams, and all 3 of them would have a good enough record to get into the CFP.
I think they don't play Iowa State until the championship game, and Kansas State, I think if they beat Iowa State, don't they get the tiebreaker at that point?
They'd have the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So it'd be K-State against BYU.
K-State. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm working that in my head, trying to sort out who beats who. The same situation exists in the ACC. SMU, Clemson, and Miami. They don't play each other. They could end up in the exact same situation. Which in that case, SMU, if they win out and they only have the one loss to BYU is top 4. Now all of a sudden SMU is elevated too.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine SMU getting in the very first year, BYU getting in the very first year?
Look,
BYU, I can understand. SMU,
it's tough. At the end of the day, though, guys, like maybe this is a cynical view, but like the CFP is about making money. And you got to think there's going to be some polls to get the biggest brands, to get the biggest ratings for those games.
Right.
Like I'm serious about that. Like there's going to be human bias with that. And so I don't know, if you're SMU, you're probably a long shot unless you just went out. I mean, unless you win the ACC, you're a long shot. If you win the ACC, you're automatically in, right?
Right.
But they're not going as an at-large for ratings purposes.
Yeah, I don't know. Clay Johansson says, "Hey, Bomber, Salt Lake City is bigger than I thought. Didn't get to see the Temple Square. Oh, that's right. Clay was visiting. I forgot about that because it was under construction. That's my fault, Clay. I forgot the Temple Square. It's under construction until 2026. I don't know what they're doing there. Something to do with nuclear bomb shelter or something. I'm teasing. Because it was under construction, but did go visit Utah University. There you go. It was up on the hill. Since it was right there. Utah has a beautiful campus. The stadium's on. It's just like BYU and Utah have perfect situations for not only participation for their stadiums, but they have fans that are very, very loyal. So I'm glad you made it, Clay.
Nicest downtown I've ever been in my entire life is Salt Lake City.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Not anymore. I don't go by Liberty Park.
Well, I would sit there and go into Hill Air Force Base there in Ogden.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, sure. And we would stay in Layton, and we would drive down to SLC all the time. So,
well, if Temple Square's open, it is an amazing place, whether you're religious or not.
I've never been there.
Beautiful. You went to Salt Lake City and didn't go to Temple Square. That's
no, crazy. we just went to like different places there in downtown.
Rock and Ran again says, when it comes down to it, you need your big brands to win and be ranked. Yeah, that's what we've been saying. It's not about Big 12, but look at Miami baseline last few years, 1.25 million or so. This year, north of 3 million they're averaging. That's what he's saying. Haven't played FSU or Clemson, so they don't get that bump. Yeah, I think Miami's done a great job.
Definitely. And like the biggest – okay, so I think that we found something out, though. Oklahoma State might be the biggest brand of the Big 12. Like looking at the viewership historically and looking at them actually maintaining that without OU in conference and everything. I think it's safe to say that Oklahoma State is the biggest brand in this conference.
I would say that in 5 years, let's look back at that. Because I think there's a potential that Utah and BYU could be right there, especially if Utah wins. If Utah wins, they'll climb on their own. BYU is a whole different animal. It's a different thing. So we'll have to see. But I agree with you. Right now, Oklahoma State, I would agree. Yeah. DF Oss says, Brett Yormark has made it clear the Big 12 is an entertainment organization. Private equity could be in it for a halftime show for all we know. So talking about valuations, the private equity might be ignoring us completely and coming up with their own metrics, right?
Exactly. Yeah, like it might have nothing to do with TV viewership.
Right.
It might be something completely we're not even talking about that they think they can make money off of. And so they're going to have 10 different types of ways to make money, and one of them is through eyeballs, the TV contract. That's just the most straightforward that we all know and talk about. But like, private equity, they're tricky guys. Like they know what they're doing, and they can really build the brand value of the Big 12 in each school more than we probably realize.
You want to add anything to that, Daniel? Quick.
No.
Okay.
I don't like private equity. I don't like private equity.
You don't like private equity?
What?
No.
What?
And let me explain. They're going to want something, and whenever you're dealing with public universities, what do they have for collateral? Everything they have is held by a public university, is held by the state of insert whatever. State of Colorado.
Well, it's the conference, though. Conference isn't a state.
But even with the conference, if you're bringing that in, you can still do a pretty good job if you just bring in, let's say, this is like corporate partners saying Coca-Cola is the official soft drink of the Big 12. What was it? The SEC has like the official beef jerky. We're talking like some weird stuff that they have with the SEC.
Yeah, but that's millions of dollars. Private equity, we're talking about billions.
But all that can still add up. And because private equity will go through and try to figure out how to lean out all the processes. And whenever you come down to that, it's going to get interesting. What processes that they want to lean out.
I guess my point is they're not taking money out of my pocket. Why do I care?
They might eventually. Because
that's fine. I'll pay a premium for BYU to be in a conference that people watch that has national recognition. I think you would do the same thing.
So private equity would probably have, they would have ownership. They'd be a partner. They wouldn't be a lender. So like they wouldn't be like a bank loan, like loaning you money and then having like your house as some like collateral to repossess if you don't pay them back. They'd just be like an equity partner. So they'd just be an owner, just like every school in the Big 12. There's 16 schools in the Big 12. And you're looking at everyone has an equal say in ownership in the conference to make decisions. Private equity would have a chunk of that too. So they'd be able to make decisions in that room with the schools and the presidents. You'd give them the ability to be in the room to make decisions on behalf of the entire conference. They'd be an owner. And so they have an incentive to grow and make money too, but everyone's going to make money if the venture is successful.
Yeah.
If
it's not successful, then
that's the thing.
Yeah,
if
right. Pretty quick.
Fall apart, they're going to want
fair.
something.
That's fair. That's fair. We're going to have to wrap it up. This will be the last question or statement, I guess, from Hummus Hero, Ohio State represented. Good to see you, Hummus Hero. Houston and Cincinnati are NFL cities, and they have Ohio State and the big Texas schools also with fans. That's true. These schools that are in pro cities, they're usually their numbers are depressed a little bit. But yeah, anyway. All right, we're going to have to wrap it up there, guys. What a great discussion. We're going to continue this through all of our shows. We'll stay on it. Daniel's waving by already. We appreciate everybody watching. Thank you so much. If you're on X right now, do us a favor and slide over to YouTube. Go to our channel, College Football Mafia Network or Big 12 Mafia channel on YouTube, and become a subscriber. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Oh my gosh, we got a $10 super chat here at the end. Eddie Lozano, San Antonio Real Estate. That's good advertising.
Nice.
Let me say that again. Eddie Lozano, San Antonio Real Estate. Look him up. $10 super chat. Great show, guys. Good to see camaraderie. By the way, conference schedule. The venues have been filled. The competition on the field has been great. I see ASU, UH, that's Houston, UCF as headline schools once they get grounded. I think those are all good comments.
ASU certainly, yeah. UCF too.
I think Big 12 has that word potential. It's dangerous, but there's a lot of potential, and it's going to take years for us to really sort it out. Any last words, guys, before I hit the button?
Watch Big 12 football. Watch Big 12 football. Watch Big 12 football. If you're a Big 12 fan, you have to watch Big 12 football if you care about your school and this conference. Not just your school, but every school. Because it's all about the next media deal. That's what we can focus on. We have no control over private equity if they come in, but we have control over our eyeballs and if it's on the TV. So do it.
Very good. Anything?
Oh, I see Go Black 45 is a part of my fan base.
You have a fan base? That's better than us.
Gygaxers.
We don't have – the other Gygax has a fan base. We don't. I guess that's what it means. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. We have a lot of fun. If you're new to the channel, check us out again. We have Big Freaking Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to do a special show. I'll advertise it tomorrow on Twitter. But I'm going to do a special show with somebody from the new Big 12 Radio Network. That'll be a lot of fun. And look for that on Twitter. Other than that, I think we're going to sign off. Everybody have a great night. Stay out of trouble. And we will see you Friday night. Go Big 12. Peace out.